Hi, Micah.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Happy
This,
Friday.
what day is
Happy Good Friday.
it?
Oh, good. Good. Well, we're so happy to have you here.
Yeah.
We are starting today our second Explore Live, which we're doing, which the Explore mission is really to connect local businesses and experts with the community here in St. Louis. And we're so happy to have you involved today. We've been polling our followers with questions that they have in regards to relationships, issues,
Yeah.
roles that they're playing during quarantine. And we're all really, really excited to hear about what you have to say and kind of how you can kind of help all of us navigate this new normal, as it really is completely unprecedented.
Yeah, it really is completely unprecedented. So like a few weeks ago, I was asked by a company to give a workshop on like how to navigate this new normal. And I have to be really honest, at first, I thought, I am not qualified to do this. Because it is. I don't think anybody's an expert in how to navigate a pandemic with your husband or partner and children.
Sure.
But I do feel like my background and expertise in marriage and family therapy and some of my training and especially maybe my 6 years of teaching human growth and development have kind of come in handy in these last few weeks and coming up with some solutions that stick. So I'm happy to be here, and I would love to hear if you got any questions, what they are.
Yeah, we've got some really, really good ones that scale from, anything from kids to being single during this time. So I think we're going to come up with some really, really good topics of conversation. You
Yeah,
ready?
and I hope that people, if they're watching live, know that you can ask questions live too. We're totally
Absolutely.
cool with doing this on the fly.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Okay, so let's kick it off. Let's get started.
Okay.
Okay, so the number one question that we got a couple times actually was how to balance new roles with your partner now that things look different.
So my theory on this, which I'm helping people balance roles within their family system all the time. And my theory on this, that now that this is all going down, is that this pandemic is not giving our relationship new issues. It's probably magnifying issues that might already be there. So if you're not really great at very clearly delineating roles in your family system, you might be especially not great at it now. And I think the great thing that I'm kind of excited about is that I don't know that we have a choice but to get really great at it right now, or we're going to want to physically harm the people that live with us. So, so I
It's a
think
struggle.
yeah, I think it behooves everybody, pandemic or not, to get very clear on who's doing what when it's happening. I think that when I encourage people to think about their family system like a corporation. And in corporations, for certain roles, there are operations manuals so that people can come in and out of that role seamlessly.
Mhm.
So over the first few weeks, especially, my husband and I were, I realized early on that we needed to meet every day to figure out what was going to work and what was not working in this new normal. And we're kind of figuring it out on the fly, just like everybody else. And I'm seeing it as an experiment. And when you're doing an experiment, you need to check in about what's working, what's not working, and what needs to change. So every night at 8, we were meeting. We would tell our kids it's mom and dad time. Our littlest one goes to bed at 8. We would tell our 2 older kids, get out of this room. Like, this room is ours. It's mom and dad time at 8. So creating boundaries with the kids to know that like mom and dad time is important too. And we would talk about what's working, what worked today, what's not working, and what needs to change tomorrow. I think that when you set that up proactively, it can give you a chance to not blow up in the moment. So let me give you an example. On like day 2, my husband told me beginning of the week that he was going to be on conference calls from 10 to 1:30. He would be done at 1:30. He could be with the kids at 1:30. And I said, great. So at 1:30, he came down, 1:35, he sauntered downstairs, was like getting a snack. And I'm like waiting for him to take the kid baton. And he's not really, I'm picking up from his nonverbal that that's not really happening. And I said, like, so are you on, or like what's happening? And he historically, he doesn't like it when I say this, but he has a tendency to wildly underestimate like how long something will take him. And he looked at me and goes, I just have to send one email. I'll be right back down. And I said, okay. An hour later, he came back. And by that time, like, I had steam coming out of my ears because I feel disrespected, disregarded, like my time doesn't matter. And so instead of blowing up in that moment, I knew we had the 8 o'clock time to talk. So I thought about, what do I need? Not what don't I need? Like, you told me you would be done at 1:30. You did it wrong. You didn't do it right. Overestimate and me get to be surprised, then you underestimate it and me be fuming by the end. So I think that really coming up with a system where you have some checkpoints and being very clear about who's doing what. Does that make sense?
Totally. Do you make a list, or how do you go like day by day of what's happening the next day?
So in the beginning, we had schedules for our kids. We took our schedules for ourselves and our schedules for our kids, and we looked at them all at the same time.
Okay.
And so he knows when he's on with the kids during the day. I know when I'm on with the kids during the day. We broke down balance with a definition that I've used of balance for years, which is really simple. It's just work, rest, move, play every day. And we had our whole family sit down and talk about, like, how are we all going to get all of those things every day? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I think now more than ever, you have to be really conscious of plugging that in and getting everyone in your family on board with when those breaks are happening and when we're going to move and why it's important to have all of those kind of mental health care basics in your schedule for the day.
No, that makes total sense. And it definitely puts it, at least on paper, seems a little bit more concrete than just having it up here.
Yeah. So with my kids, I made binders. And on the front of the 3-ring binder, I slid a paper in the front that has a loose schedule in there of things that they need to check off.
Okay.
So that I think that helps them. They know that at 8 o'clock every day, the family room is mom and dad's, and we're done parenting for the day. That's what I say. We're done parenting for the day. And we get to watch adult shows and talk about adult things after 8.
That's great. That's great. And it kind of gives you something to look forward to too.
Totally. Like you can't do this all day, every day and expect to have a Mary Poppins attitude. If you wouldn't expect that from a babysitter, like hour 12 of babysitting, it's not something you should expect from yourself. So we've got to be nurturing ourselves so that we can be nurturing our little people.
So that kind of brings me to the next question that came up that we got a couple times actually, was how, in different versions, but how do I not pull my hair out? Like, how do I get through this time frame where I'm actually being a good mom when I am with my kids, when I literally am struggling on a day-to-day basis to keep it together?
I think we don't have a choice. Like I said, we have to get very clear about what we need. And I think that when I talk about the kind of really simple definition of balance, that work, I think it's important to have meaningful work, something you can check off your list, rest, getting breaks and moving your body. And it doesn't have to, you don't have to be like training for a triathlon. Like you can walk a mile for all I care, or do some light yoga, and play, making sure you're getting that connection. And so I think if we're getting all of those things that we need, we're going to be less likely to be blowing up at the people we love the most. But I think that those feelings of being frustrated and feeling resentful, for me, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It means that something has to change. And so that's where that, daily meeting comes in, where you're going, I'm feeling resentful. I feel like I need something to change, or something needs to be taken off my list, or we need to do this a different way.
Got it. I love it. That's great.